What's going on, guys? Bob Buskirk here at ThinkComputers, and today we're going to be doing our installation on InWin's 904 case. So we're going to go step by step to how to get your hardware installed like you see right here. So let's just go ahead and get started. So we're going to start out here with our motherboard, and some things that I wanted to point out is first, your standoffs are pre-installed, so you don't have to worry about that. But even if you need to remove standoffs or add more or something like that, InWin has provided the little standoff key, so they're easier to do that with. Just makes things so much easier than trying to pull them out with your finger. Also, there is no I/O shield. So the way this case is set up, the I/O shield that comes with your motherboard, you're not going to actually use. Now, putting your motherboard in here is a little bit difficult just because it is a little compact, as you can see, and you also want to make sure you're going to route your extension cable. Now, this is ours that we use with all of our installs, but InWin does provide an extension cable for your CPU power as well. So when you put your motherboard down in here, and try to do it nice and easy, try to get that cable routed, and what you're actually going to do is you're just going to line these up right on here with all of the screws. Now, all of the screws line up nice and pretty much perfectly here. So what you're actually going to do now is go ahead and secure the motherboard with screws. For our first hard drive here, we're going to be installing a 3.5-inch hard drive, which we have right here, if you guys can see that. And what we're going to do is we're going to install it in one of the hot swap bays. So we go ahead and just take this out, and this is all toolless installation. So basically you kind of just get your hard drive in there and make sure you have your these little pegs here that they go in the holes on your hard drive. It takes a little bit here to get them in correctly. Go ahead and get them all in here. This last one, just like this. Hopefully you can get it in there. Almost here. Sometimes they are a little bit of a pain depending. There we go. We got our last drive in there, and then what we're going to do is go ahead and slide the drive back in just like that, and it will actually, oops, wait, there we go. It will lock right back into place, and what that's actually going to do as well is it's going to connect right back here to this back plane, so you don't have to worry about connecting SATA power or data cables. It's already good to go. So if you're installing a new hard drive, say you already have the system built and everything like that, you don't have to worry about connecting anything else. You just put your hard drive in here and it's pretty much good to go. Now we are ready for 2.5-inch drive installation. Now, you can install 2.5-inch drives in the 3 hot swap bays that are available, but just to show you that you can install them here as well, all you do again is just remove this simple thumb screw that is attached to it as well, so you don't have to worry about losing it. Take this section out right here, and what you're going to do is, of course, we would put our solid state drive on there much like this, as you can see, and put it back in. So I'm going to go ahead and screw my solid state drive in and show you how easy it is to put right back in. So here I have my drive installed on the little holder here, whatever you want to call it. 4 screws right there in the back, and then to just put it back on here, kind of just line it up, get that thumb screw lined up, and more or less just screw it right back in, and you have your drive installed. Again, you can fit 2 here, one right here where we have this one installed, and one right below it. Power supply installation on this case is actually one of the hardest things to do just because you have limited space. Now, I tried 2 power supplies that are pretty much the normal size. They may be a little bit bigger just because of the modular cables, but I tried an Antec high current gamer 750 watt power supply. It really will not fit in here that well. I also tried the OCZ Fatality 1000 watt power supply. It again will not fit in here. So we are down to the Be Quiet Pure Power L8 600 watt power supply. This is a very compact power supply, so this is the one that's going to fit best for us. Now, one thing to mention when you're doing your installation is that normally with cases we would have the fan here on the bottom actually go on the bottom like this, and then we would put the power supply in like that. With this case, they want the fan to be up, so you want to make sure you do that. There is a sticker here that InWin has put on there just to let you know that. Now, the first thing you're actually going to want to do is route all of your cables behind the motherboard tray. Now, this routing hole right here gets covered up a little bit, especially if you have a power supply that's a little bit bigger than this. It's definitely going to get covered up. So you want to route all your cables first, which I'm going to go ahead and do, and get all that out of the way here. So we can go ahead and do that. Get everything routed through. So you want to make sure you do that before you go ahead and get the power supply in, because then you'll realize that you're going to have to take it out and do it all over here. So we'll go ahead and put all of these cables through. All that. And get them in there pretty well, pretty much all the way in through there, and we're going to put power supply back down just like that, and then we're going to go ahead and secure it with screws. Now, one thing you want to see is just how much room we do have here. Again, this is a very small power supply, so the other ones that we had, they came out to about here, and then with the modular cable connections, they just did not fit. So you want to make sure that you do have enough room for your power supply down here. So I'm going through installation here, and I'm trying to wire everything up. You know, I've installed my power supply, and I've run into a couple issues. The first issue is that, you know, you have a limited number of SATA connections for your said power supply. Ours is 600 watts, so we only have 2 cables that have SATA connections. Now, the 5.2 or the 5.25 inch bay right here, that does have an opening on the bottom, but this opening is extremely small, and there's not a lot of room here. Now, you can see this SATA connector right here. This is one that's on the middle of the cable. You can physically not fit that under here and get it to connect to your 5.25 inch drive. You have to use an end cable. So that limits the amount of cables that you can use. I would really have liked to see an extender here for, like, you know, like a hot swap basically back here, just because this is sort of ridiculous to have to do that. And there's just not a lot of room, especially with this section right here of the bottom of the case. Getting a SATA data and power connection right here is more or less a pain in the ass. It's just not set up well at all. The second issue that I'm running into is I have my 2.5 inch drive right here. And, you know, it looks good and everything from that side, but on this side, you can only use specific SATA cables. You can only use the SATA cables that have the flat end, not the one that has the 90-degree end that we do see come with a lot of motherboards. And again, the same issue with the 5.25 inch bay is if I wanted to use, say, this SATA connector right here that's in the center or the middle of our entire cable here, I actually can't. It's physically impossible to get this to connect. You know, I would actually end up breaking this. So what I actually have to do is go ahead and use an end cable again here. So this kind of makes it really dumb. If I have 2 drives here, I have to use 2 end cables, which is more or less 2 cables. It really just does not work out that well. You know, you can see our end cable does fit in there, but then if I had a second drive, it would be physically impossible to connect this connector. Just a bad overall design by Inwin. So I'm wiring everything up after the couple issues that I did have, and we pretty much, again, cannot connect this drive back here, which is sort of a disappointment. People who still do use optical drives are kind of left to dry unless you get an extension or, you know, just waste a bunch of cables that are going to, of course, create a big cable mess back here, and that is going to be able to be seen because you do have the clear side panel on the back. Now, Inwin does include cable ties and organizers so that you can organize all of this cable mess back here yourself, and there is quite a lot of room behind here, so you really don't have to worry about all this cable mess. You know, you can take a good, you know, 20 minutes and get it all nice and neat and how you like it. For our video card installation, we're going to be using the Sapphire R9 280Xs, which is actually one of the largest video cards available right now. It is extremely large, but you can see there is no issue getting it to fit. You just have to get it around the power supply cable, set it in there, and of course, we're going to connect everything up. Now, one thing I do want to mention is that InWin does include a power supply extension cable, which we are using. One sad thing about that cable is that it is not sleeved. You know, this is a high-end case. You're paying a premium for this case, and all of the other cables that are on this case are sleeved, so they look nice, so they match the inside of the case. They are black sleeved, which you can see right here. The power supply extension is not, and it just looks ugly. I just would have liked to seen it sleeved, so your inside of your case looks nice and neat. So I've put the backside panel of the case back on, and you can see how everything looks inside. What's gonna be really great is once we put the side panel on, you're gonna be able to see all of the components. Now, what I did wanna mention is that we're using a low profile CPU cooler, so you don't really have to worry about the actual clearance here, but this case only supports CPU coolers up to 145 millimeters. That really is not a lot. A lot of tower coolers that you see are around 160, 150, something like that. So you're really gonna have to take that into account before you purchase this case, as well as a lot of CPU coolers will not be supported inside the case. I've gone ahead and put the final side panel back on here. You can see the lights from our video card right there and our memory lighting up right there. And of course, if you have lights or anything like that, they are gonna show through the case. So this wraps up our installation on InWin's 904 case. Now, if you have any questions or are having any issues with your installation, you can go ahead and leave a comment in the comment section below, and we'll get back to you on that. And remember, guys, if you like our videos, why don't you subscribe? Catch you guys later.